welcome back, everybody, to the Financial Advisors Workshop. And this is where at Four Star Wealth, we talk with some of our great colleagues in the industry. There are some financial wizards and great people in our business. And today we have a gentleman from Maryland with tremendous credentials, Ben Offit. Ben is with us today, and he's the president of Offit Advisors. Ben, welcome to the Financial Advisor Workshop.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Glad you could join us. Well, I think the theme, Ben, from our discussion earlier is about your being an entrepreneur. So obviously you're an entrepreneur with regard to Offit Advisors, but give us a little bit of background, how you started Offit, where did you start in the industry, and how you got to where you are now.
Okay. I was an entrepreneurship major at the University of Maryland in the business school. So I knew that I wanted to eventually somehow go into business, start a company. I didn't know how that would manifest or what would happen. But I knew I wanted to have three main things. I wanted to help other people. That was really important to me. I wanted to be doing something that I felt really actually made a difference in the world. And I knew I wanted to have no limit on our earning capability, and just have the opportunity to have freedom and kind of, be my own boss, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So I started basically two businesses out of college. The first one was my main thing I was focused on was a video game combined with studying for standardized tests like the SAT. That was the main thing I was going after. And that was, a great idea, a great concept, and I still believe in it, but I never really could get it off the ground. So simultaneously, I started with a large financial services company out of college that recruited me. And I never expected to get into that line of work, but I was basically trying to do both of those things simultaneously. The financial services piece and fit with what I was looking to do because I felt like I could help other people, like I said, and I could have no limit on my income and have freedom and flexibility. So I went with that while I was trying to do the video game company, and I started making real money, with the financial planning one, and was having a good amount of success with it. And, just started occupying a lot more of my time naturally. And at some point I just said, I'm doing this one 100% and stuck with it. And, here we are, 13 years later. So that's kind of the story.
What kind of financial services firm was it?
It was Northwestern Mutual Insurance Company, financial services business. Sure.
Is insurance based and planning and
yeah, that's right.
Great. So then give us some insight as to your departure from there and creation of Offit.
Yeah, so I was there almost 7 years. I had a great experience. I learned a lot. Got my CFP there. I learned how to attract and keep and maintain client relationships, how to communicate, how to listen, how to work hard. Learned a lot of great skills there, and really was the foundation of my career. I think over time, what happened was I just felt like I could ultimately be a better entrepreneur and a better advisor, in my opinion, for clients by going more on the independent route and not being tied to any proprietary company or parent company. And made a hard decision to leave, and thought about it for a long time, and eventually did it. And I'm glad I did. It was tough when I did it, but here we are, almost 7 years removed from that, and I'm thankful that I did. It was the right choice.
So most of the people that'll see this broadcast are independent advisors, and if you started your own firm, you know how stressful the first year can be. Tell us about your first year.
Well, I think it depends on how you look at the first year, because I really, going independent was a change, but I looked at it, really as a continuation of what I was doing at Northwestern Mutual, because really I looked at Northwestern as starting my own practice, which it was. It just was held and warehoused, at Northwestern, but I got all my own clients, service all the clients, so a lot of those clients, the bulk of them, I'd say 80%, left and came with me to the independent world. So it was really a continuation of that. It's just a new chapter of what I was already doing. But Starting any business is hard. Starting the financial services business is really hard. And, I think any advisor knows it's really about getting in front of enough people and, doing that diligently and consistently and being able to face rejection and be persistent. And if you do a good enough job for enough people and show them that you care about them and want to do a good job, enough of them will want to become clients. And the ones that don't, it's okay, because there's plenty of people out there, and ones that do, if you do continue to do a good job, they'll stick around. And it's really that simple.
So when you started the firm, you're up to 140 million now. What did you start with as far as AUM?
You mean starting day one at Northwestern?
Well, over the first 90 days, you brought most of what you probably were going to bring over, I would think.
So at Northwestern, obviously I started from zero, no clients at all. And then, I was really, really the setup there is you're more of, at least at the time when I was there, I was really much more of an insurance producer than an investment advisor. Even though I was doing financial planning, much more of my production was insurance based. So when I left, I probably had about maybe 13 million, and maybe 10 million of it stuck when I left. So since that time, it's just grown, and we've added people to our team. So it's not just me. There's other great advisors on our team, and it's really a collective effort. And how we serve clients now.
So you started small and you built it up quite nicely. And how many advisors in the team you mentioned?
4 now, including me.
4? Great. So that 140 million includes all of the entire practice of the firm.
That's right.
Great. So how do you manage the money, Ben? Are you running money yourselves, or are you using outside managers? How do you operate that?
It's a mix, but for the most part, we have our own models and designs, and we try to stick to that, and put our clients in a portfolio that's based on research that we think makes sense for them in their situation, and we rebalance that with a systematic process, and customize it for their needs. But for the most part, we have design models that we've created that we think align with our values and our philosophy.
Great. So it's been a pretty rough year in the financial markets. How have you guys fared?
I think just like any other advisor, we're not immune to the market being down. It's really not about that. It's about having a plan for when the market is down, which we've tried to put our clients in a position to be mindful of that, because it's not a question of if the market goes down, it's a question of when. And so it's about being prepared for that ahead of time. And I think the way that we try to do that is, have an income withdrawal strategy that can be ready to turn on when the market is down, having some non-market correlated assets to prepare for that.
Do you do any rotation and try to get partially out of the market or get defensive when markets get rough? Or do you just take the long-term view? And
I'd say it's really long-term view. And then, having a segment of the portfolio that's, kind of like your safe money or your war chest that you would utilize, during a bear market or during a downturn.
Excellent. So do you in your practice include alternatives and philanthropy and other services like that?
Well, it depends on what you mean by alternatives. We do have some, exposure to some, asset classes like energy or commodities or real estate, but nothing too alternative. If that's what you mean.
Well, like the real estate, the Reg A deals, Reg D deals, the illiquid, that kind of thing.
Not really. Most of what we use is publicly traded, not privately traded. And, we believe you can get exposure to the appropriate asset classes through publicly traded funds that are liquid.
So you're a CFP, Ben, and you've been a leader in the Financial Planning Association, obviously in your own firm and then across your state. Tell us a little bit about that. You've been quite involved.
Yeah. Just going back to my initial thing I talked about coming out of college, it's really important for me, then, and really important for me now and really every day, to feel like I'm making an impact and doing a good work for people. And that's really what drives me more than anything, is, in our for-profit business, but also in a nonprofit sense, what am I doing? What are we doing every day to really touch people's lives? And that's really what drives me. And the FPA was just another outlet to do that outside of our practice, where we could serve the public and serve the financial advisor industry in a different way besides just being in practice. And it was a great experience. Met a lot of great people, still actively involved. A lot of great advisors. Did a lot of pro bono planning, and just really tried to create an environment where we're elevating the profession for all the advisors in it, and we can work together instead of as competitors. We're trying to support each other.
Great. So tell everybody why financial planning is so important. You mentioned a little bit earlier, but why is that such an important part of your practice?
I think everything stems from the financial plan. Any investment decision, any insurance decision, any financial decision comes from a financial plan and a financial planning relationship. I believe it's a dynamic process and a dynamic relationship. It's not something that you do once and you never touch it again for 5 years or 10 years or 30 years. It's really, I believe, a very important and meaningful process and relationship for anybody to have. And I think if someone, a family or a business owner can have a good team or a good advisor by their side, I think ultimately they'll make better decisions and have less mistakes and optimize their resources. And I just think it's a really positive thing if you're working with a good advisory team, planning team, and a good process. I think it's very, very beneficial for people. I really believe that.
Great. Well, and you do the financial plan to withstand all the cycles in the market and the economy, build a long-term program. And I guess if a financial plan would ever to be failing or not be working or statistically not being able to work, it's probably a time like now, wouldn't you say?
I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. I mean, like I said earlier, you got to plan for the market being down. Well, you never know when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen or what the reason's going to be.
Right.
It's going to happen. So your plan has to be ready for that. And you have to talk about that and create strategies to be ready, So part of having a successful plan that doesn't fail is being ready for, the what ifs, sort of things that might happen and we don't know when they might happen.
So not be so worried about an environment like this because they're going to happen, is what you're saying. Great.
That's right.
So you do reviews with clients periodically, either quarterly or semi-annually, something like that?
That's right.
Okay. And so those reviews just recently happened and all the plans are in good shape, pretty much, most of the clients?
And if we need to make adjustments or tweaks, or update our assumptions, we will.
Excellent. Well, one of the things in the show notes that we had talked about earlier is that you've been getting very high ratings from clients, and we delved a little bit further and discussed how you use a system for ratings. Let's talk about that, because that's interesting, and I think it's a neat program.
Yeah, we just try to use some software and objectively ask the people we met with, how was the meeting? Was it productive or positive? How is it meeting with me or other advisors on the team? And we try to understand what's going well or what's not, and just get their feedback to make sure we're hearing them and can respond if things aren't going well for whatever reason.
Excellent. Well, good. So what do you think of the financial markets here, Ben? What is your view at this point?
My view is probably, similar to most other financial advisors, that, we're in a down market, which is unfortunate, but it's something that, happens, like I said. And I think at the end of the day, we're waiting for inflation to be snuffed out. And that's really what the market's responding to. And, an increase in interest rates. And, I think eventually we're going to come out of this. And I think it's not about the market being down right now. It's about the risk of not being ready for when the market rebounds, because we know when the market rebounds, it rebounds sharply in a positive direction. So if people are going to miss out on that, that's I think a bigger risk than being invested right now. Mm-hmm. So it's really about, again, maintaining that long-term perspective, that long-term focus, and stay ready for the rebound, because it's going to happen, and it's going to, at some point, rebound sharply in a positive direction. So you really want to catch that. If you don't catch that, that's a bigger risk than anything, I think.
You have to be in, because it will bottom at some point and then it'll go back up, and you better be in.
That's right.
Right. So back to the theme of your being an entrepreneur, Ben. You had been involved with the TERP Entrepreneur Network. So share with everyone what that is all about.
Yeah, so it's University of Maryland. TERP is the mascot and the name for the university.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So we have an interesting nomenclature called terpreneur, like entrepreneur, but terpreneur.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I've always been super impressed with the University of Maryland and their alumni, and there's so many great alumni and entrepreneurs and people and companies that have come from that system and that educational institution. And the idea behind was the TERP Entrepreneur Network was to try to cultivate that further and create an opportunity for undergrads, but also graduates to really have this entrepreneurial platform and ecosystem, similar to the FPA, to come together and work together and benefit from each other and network and learn from each other. And it was a great thing to start, and it's continuing to blossom and grow. And we've got, I'm not on the board anymore, but I'm glad we helped to start it, and I hope it continues for a long time.
Nice. Have you met some good clients from that network as well?
Yeah, just and good friends and other people to bounce ideas off of, and other businesses, and you can always learn something from other people, especially in other lines of business as well. They don't all have to be financial planners. You can always learn from other types of business owners and entrepreneurs as well.
Speaking of other financial planners, are the other members of your team, are they all in financial planning or CFP type people as well?
All financial planning. Not all of them are CFPs yet. That's the goal for everybody. But we're all very financial planning centric and focused, and that's really where we start everything.
Yeah, it's great. Well, it sounds like you have a great practice and and a great understanding of what's important to work with clients and how to build a business. So Ben, could you share with us any kind of key final thoughts? Like, as I mentioned, a few thousand people initially will see this, and then over the next couple of years, and people will look at older episodes as well, and they'll want to understand what you have to say to the financial advisor world. So we're talking to financial advisors all around the country. So if you have a message you'd like to send to them, this would be a really good time.
I would just say this is your time. This is your opportunity. This is your chance, to make a mark and, leave a legacy. And your legacy can be something of profound influence and positivity, for the clients you're working with now, but for many generations to come, their kids, their grandkids, and their parents even. And, the choices and the guiding that you help your clients with today is really so huge. And I just think that's really humbling and really exciting that we get to do that every day. And when you get to focus on that instead of, the down thing, the negative things you might face on a day-to-day basis, it really puts things in the proper perspective, I think. And just focus on that.
Awesome. Well, that's great, Ben. Well, you've been a great guest. We really appreciate your being with us today. And as I said, we'll be out on TikTok and all the other services. So you'll become a TikTok star.
And look forward to that.
So who knew, right? But it's fun, and I think all of our guests will appreciate your spending some time with us today. So thanks again for being with us, Ben, on the Financial Advisors Workshop, a 4-star podcast and media series. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.